Are sitting with good ideas, but because doors are closed, some of the ideas never come to fruition. For more, I'm joined by entrepreneurship expert Dr. Roche Mamabolo from the Lora Innovation Centre. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. What would you say, just referring to what Khoto said about race, how much of a role does race play in how entrepreneurship and ideas come to light in South Africa?
I think I wouldn't necessarily look at it as race, but I would look at it as people who are able to come up with ideas from where they live, from where they grew up from, because that's where you find that necessity is the mother of invention. If I come from a poor background, I'm able to come up with innovations or inventions that are able to have this huge impact that can not only take me out of my situation, but it can also take a lot of people out of their situation. So I think it's important that entrepreneurs who are coming from previously disadvantaged backgrounds are able to get the right access to information, because that's why it starts really. I mean, what the young chap is going through is purely the fact that he didn't have the right information. He was not advised. If you listen to what he's saying, he had to do the whole process by himself, which you're likely to make mistakes because it tends to be very legally technical. Right?
Let's do a masterclass then quickly for people who are watching, saying if you've got a good idea, what's the right way to protect your idea? Is it copyright? Is it trademark? Is it a patent? How do you protect your idea?
Look, I think the first thing is, what the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make is they would say, because I have this brilliant idea, I'm afraid to take it out there because it will be stolen. And they sit with a lot of amazing ideas and they don't do anything about it. I think ideas need fresh air, they need to breathe, they need to be out there so that they can be built upon by other people to help. So the first thing is don't hold it back and be afraid that people will steal it, right? It needs, for it to grow and develop, it needs to be out there. So that's the first thing. Secondly, there are quite a lot of agencies in the country, some of them are government driven, that are there to help entrepreneurs with such situations. You would have, for instance, the Innovation Hub or GEP, NYDA, that have got lawyers as service providers that are there to help entrepreneurs, especially those from previously disadvantaged, at no fee to the entrepreneur, that can actually advise them on what's the best route to go. Is it something that you need a trademark on? Is it a design that needs to be protected? Or is it an invention that you might just need to have a patent on? So it tends to be very legally, technical for a normal entrepreneur even from a learned entrepreneur. So I think that's where it starts. It starts with appreciating the fact that you need to go out there and let your idea out, but also talk to, some of the government institutions that are set up to provide legal advice to entrepreneurs. And in fact, some of the big legal companies as well do have pro bono services that are designed as part of their BEE compliance to give advice to previously disadvantaged entrepreneurs as part of them, getting PE points. So I think, secondly, get the proper advice, which is free to a lot of entrepreneurs. They just don't know where to find it, right? And once you've gotten the advice, I think the third thing would be, whoever you're going to approach, making them sign the right documents is empirical, right? You can't just give out your idea to people without protecting it. But also do your homework. Don't just go to any company and disclose the information. Do your background check of that company, and find out, what is their history of ideas.
But to contradict that, we can look at the example of Nkosana Makate, who is still fighting Vodacom over a decade later for an idea that he invented with them. Vodacom has since acknowledged that he is it was his idea, even though there's a contestation about how exactly it was his idea. They were a very reputable company. It was an employee who trusted them. So what do you do then when someone says, we're going to take your idea, we're going to use it, we're going to make, he's alleged that they've made hundreds of millions, even billions off the idea, but are not coming to the party in terms of compensation?
It's a jungle out there, right? And especially with the big companies. And, those are actually the biggest, culprits who, take these ideas and run with. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have the legal budget to take these big corporates, on. And you are, in most instances, relying on your friends or people who can advise you. But I think it starts at the outset, do do you have the proper documents to protect yourself, right? And I think also continuously going with the continuous communication, whether it's email, if you can reduce it to writing and state it in those communique that, this is my idea. Leave that paper audit trail, right? To say if anything happens, you are able to, if there's a loophole in the contract, you are able to, rely on a whole lot of other communique that you can prove to say, we have consistently throughout this process, agreed that this is my idea. And no matter what happens, so there are three, aspects. You can sign a non-disclosure, you can sign a non-compete agreement, which means that if all else fails between the two of us, you can't take this product of mine and use it and change it, just do minor adjustments and go with it. And there's also a work hire agreement, where I have this brilliant IT concept. I don't know how to do it. I go to somebody who's very good at coding, and I say to him, code this thing for me, right? And they code it, and they run away with your idea. Have that agreement to say, this remains my intellectual property, no matter what happens. But also, over and above that, as you continue with the discussions and the negotiations, make sure that you are leaving the trail of proof, in case anything wrong happens.
Dr. Roche Mamabolo, thanks so much for your time and insight on SABC News. So that's a wrap from us for now. We say goodbye to our SABC 3 viewers. But my colleague Nompumelelo Siziba will be back with more news at the top of the hour. The weather details after a short break. Goodbye.